Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this council meeting of 19th of March 2024, which is being held in person in the council chamber, Ferris Boulevard, South Morang. The meeting is obviously also being live streamed. I'm Lydia Wilson, Chair of Council, and I'd also like to introduce my panel colleagues. Firstly, Peter Duncan.
Good evening, everybody.
And if I could also introduce Administrator Christian Zara, who's joining the council meeting this evening online.
Good evening, everybody.
I'd also like to introduce our Chief Executive Officer, Craig Lloyd, and ask that he introduce the members of the executive leadership team in attendance this evening. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce our Director of Planning and Development, Emma Appleton, Director of Community Wellbeing, Agata Hemalevsky, Director of Customer and Corporate Services, Sarah Renner, Director of Infrastructure and Environment, Debbie Wood, our Executive Manager of Public Affairs, Janine Morgan, and at the table here, Executive Manager of Office of Council and CEO, Jacinta Stevens. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Craig. I note that there are no apologies this evening. Firstly, on behalf of Council, I recognise the rich Aboriginal heritage of this country and acknowledge the Wurundjeri Willem clan and Tongarong people as the traditional owners of lands within the city of Whittlesea, and I'd also like to pay my personal respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'll now read our diversity and good governance statement. At the city of Whittlesea, we are proud of our diversity and the many cultures, faiths and beliefs that make up our community. We strive to be an inclusive, welcoming city that fosters active participation, well-being and connection to each other and this land. We commit as a council to making informed decisions to benefit the people of the city of Whittlesea now and into the future, to support our community's vision of a place for all. We have a number of acknowledgements this evening, and my first acknowledgement is a very exciting one, and that is to note that we have in attendance this evening our new Youth Council. We're delighted this evening that we've got 10 of our 13 youth councillors in attendance, and I'd particularly like to congratulate the appointment of our new youth mayor, Zachary Melvain, who's in attendance this evening. Welcome, Zachary. And also our deputy mayor, Kaynat, who's also in attendance this evening. The Youth Council will be providing an incredibly important voice to Council on matters that affect young people within our community. And we had a presentation by the Youth Council earlier this evening in relation to what some of those priorities are, such as health and wellbeing, environment and climate change, employment and education, accessibility and inclusion. And they're matters of a lot of concern to Council as well. So we really very much look forward to working with our Youth Council until we have the return of elected representatives. So again, to our Youth Councillors, congratulations, and we're delighted to have you on board and in attendance this evening. Thank you. My second acknowledgement this evening is in relation to International Women's Day. On the 8th of March, we celebrated International Women's Day with a range of events, and clearly International Women's Day is an opportunity for us to celebrate the resilience, strength and spirit of women from all walks of life and honour their achievements, their contributions and their invaluable presence in both the city of Whittlesea and also the broader community. On the 6th of March, we hosted a community screening of the documentary film Equal the Contest, which celebrated women, girls and gender diverse people and demonstrated determination, community spirit, joy and courage. And on the 7th of March, I was delighted to be in attendance when we hosted an exceptionally successful Women in Business event at the newly opened Five Vineyard in Mernda. We had over 120 local businesswomen who had gathered to hear some really inspiring stories of 3 local women who shared their journeys of navigating the often challenging path to business success. So we had a really wonderful International Women's Day and our celebrations. I believe that Administrator Zara also has a further acknowledgement this evening.
I do, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. As an Sundays Community Festival, I know, Chair, that you were thrilled to present awards to the 5 recipients of our 2023 City of Whittlesea Community
We received nominations for 38 people, with winners selected by Community Committee, which I was honoured to sit on behalf of our panel of administrators, alongside past winners and independent community members. Our very sincere congratulations go to Citizen of the Year, Judith Clements, a very long-standing local volunteer in Whittlesea Township and surrounds. Senior Citizen of the Year, Christine McDonald, the founder of Doreen Baby Boomers. Young Citizen of the Year, and in attendance tonight, Kayneth, a dedicated and passionate campaigner on issues facing young people, and also our Deputy Youth Mayor, as you indicated before, Chair. Access and Inclusion Citizen of the Year, Norma Medawar, the founder of a not-for-profit agency that supports refugee and migrant women. Sustainable Citizen of the Year, Ben Coleman, high school teacher focused on environmental sustainability. The contribution of these people is just outstanding, Chair, and I thank them for their important contribution to the City of Whittlesea.
Thank you very much, Administrator Zara. And if I could now hand over to Administrator Duncan, who also has a couple of acknowledgements.
Thank you, Chair. I'm absolutely delighted to let everybody know that this week we're celebrating Cultural Diversity Week. And here at the City of Whittlesea, we're really proud to be one of the most culturally diverse municipalities in Australia. Our residents come from more than 140 countries, and almost half of our community speaks a language other than English at home, which is just remarkable. Cultural Diversity Week is an excellent opportunity to unite individuals, communities and organisations from all different backgrounds. And there's several local events to celebrate this week and to showcase all of these magnificent stories. And there'll be performances, music, art, cultural clothing and, of course, delicious cuisine to taste. Chair, I've just got one other acknowledgement, and that is to acknowledge Ray Rosales. And I know Ray since I started here at the City of Whittlesea, but I'd just really like to acknowledge the outstanding contribution towards reconciliation in the City of Whittlesea that Ray has made as a really long-term member of the Whittlesea Reconciliation Group. And Ray has decided to stand down from the WRG after many, many years of service. And I know his knowledge, his enthusiasm and expertise in budget management will be sorely missed. But Ray is always first to put his hand up to volunteer, and he consistently represented the WRG at community events. And he was also a regular participant in important WRG-led events such as the Koori Christmas Barbecue and Sorry Day. His volunteering didn't stop there though. He's absolutely remarkable, Ray. And it also included organisations such as the CFA and also as a board member of Whittlesea Community Connections. So he's just an outstanding member of our community. And I wish Ray and his family a deep felt all the best and with all of his future endeavours, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you very much, Administrator Duncan, and I also had the pleasure of working with Ray on the board of Whittlesea Community Connections and acknowledge his enormous contribution. Administrators and officers, if you have a conflict of interest in any item on the agenda, you may verbally disclose the type and nature of the interest now, but you must also make a declaration immediately before consideration of the matter in question. Administrators, are there any items for which you have a conflict of interest to declare?
No, Chair.
No, Chair.
And I also have no item to declare a conflict of interest. Do any officers present this evening have any conflicts of interest in relation to any items on tonight's agenda to declare? Thank you. I seek a motion to confirm the minutes of the following preceding meeting, the scheduled meeting of Council held on the 20th of February 2024. Could I have a mover?
Happy to move that, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. And a seconder?
I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. I'll now put the matter to a vote. All those in favour of confirming the minutes? The motion is carried. If we now move into public question time, Council allows up to 30 minutes for public questions, petitions or joint letters from our community to be read out by the CEO, by the CEO's delegate and responded to by the CEO. Any questions submitted that relate to matters outside the duties, functions and powers of Council, is discourteous or disrespectful, defamatory or intends to prejudice or insult someone may be declined. All questions and responses will be included in the minutes of the Council meeting. I note this evening that we have received 3 public questions, and I'll now hand over to Jacinta Stevens, Executive Manager, Office of Council and CEO, to read the question. And if we could have each question in turn with the CEO responding. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. The first question is from Nicholas Brain. His question is: At its last meeting, Council received 2 petitions. Whilst Council noted both petitions, it did not specifically outline what actions it would take to promote the first goal of its city plan, a connected community in the City of Whittlesea. What steps will now be taken by the administrators to engage community sentiment on ways to foster a more connected community beyond existing initiatives?
Thank you, Jacinta, and if I could get our CEO to respond now.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Nick, for your question. Council did receive and note 2 petitions at its meeting last month in relation to specific actions to promote a connected community. Our Connected Community Strategy of 2023-2033 was endorsed by Council in December last year. This strategy outlines Council's commitment to fostering an inclusive, healthy, safe and welcoming place where all of our residents are celebrated and supported. Informed by extensive research and engagement with the community, the strategy identifies 24 priority areas, including advancing gender equality, improving physical and mental well-being, providing services for people at all life stages, and creating culturally safe and accessible spaces. In addition, later this evening, Council will consider the proposed Community Action Plan for 2024-25 to be released for the public for consultation. The plan proposes 59 key actions aligned with the Whittlesea 2040 goals of connected community, livable neighbourhoods, sustainable environment, strong local economy and high-performing organisation. This plan is the yearly supplement to the Community Plan 21-25, which outlines the specific initiatives and actions Council will deliver in addition to our standard services and programs. Specific initiatives to foster a connected community include the construction of an Aboriginal gathering place, the delivery of the Mernda Social Support Centre, our Community Leadership Program and our new Community Grants Program. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. A second question this evening is from Christine Leedsma. Christine's question is, considering the significant role pets play in supporting mental health, especially for vulnerable community members, could the Council consider offering a discount on pet registration fees for healthcare card holders? This initiative could acknowledge the therapeutic benefits of pet companionship and make pet ownership more accessible for those on limited incomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, for the question. We understand the importance of pets in people's families, and it's the Victorian Government who sets the eligibility criteria for councils when it comes to fee reduction for pet registration. While health card holders are unable to receive a discount at this stage, pensioners who have approved concession cards issued by the Department of Social Services and the Department of Veteran Affairs are entitled to a reduction in their fees. Thank you.
The third question this evening is from Dean Hurlston. Dean's question is, what amount of waste enforcement costs in the current financial year 2023-24 has the Council included in its waste levies charged to residents, if any? Thank you.
And again, thank you, Dean, for your question. Council's waste charge is calculated on the total cost of delivering the waste service. Currently, Council is significantly subsidising its waste service, including the State Government's mandated landfill levy. Council currently considers waste enforcement costs to be part of a high-performing waste service. Council's litter enforcement team reduces the impact of illegal dumping on the neighbourhood amenity. Council follow the polluter pays principle where possible, making the offender remove the material and/or issuing fines, aiming toward a low-cost litter enforcement service. The litter enforcement function reduces the significant cost of removing illegal dumping from the municipality, which ultimately saves the community money from the collection and disposal of illegally dumped waste. The net cost of the litter enforcement services was budgeted at approximately $150,000 for the 2023-2024 financial year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Craig, and can I also thank our three community members for their questions to Council this evening, and again note that the responses will be included in the Council meeting minutes. I note that we have no petitions and joint letters this evening. So if we now move to consideration of reports, we'll be working through the agenda, and I do note that we have a very large agenda this evening. Commencing with item 5.1, Quarter 2 Community Grants Update. And if I could call on our Director, Customer and Corporate Services, Sarah Renner, to introduce this item. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening. I would like to introduce Assad to give a brief summary of our Quarter 2 Community Grants program.
Thank you, Sarah, and hello everyone. In Quarter 2, Council received 113 grant applications and approved $401,000 of funding to community groups and organisations. The approval rate of 47% is up from 27% in the previous quarter due to a set focus on increasing awareness of grants in the community and running community information workshops. Our approval rate, however, for the small and large grant categories remains lower, primarily due to a lack of necessary information in the applications. Applications that do not provide quotes or public liability insurance certificates are ineligible. Work is continuing to help the community better understand the new eligibility criteria and continue to increase the quality of applications. Aside from quarterly grants, we have provided $271,000 to senior citizens groups and signed 4 groups up to funding agreements, committing almost $400,000 over the 4-year agreement period. These groups continue to deliver services that help Council achieve its 2040 vision. The new grants model has been running for 6 months and has enabled us to collect crucial data to create more outreach strategies for suburbs or community groups that may require assistance but are not coming forward with applications. Council is analysing community needs and responding by introducing programs to continue to assist the community as much as possible. As such, we have approved another $200,000 to run a second round of Community Relief for Food and Essential Materials program. In these tough economic times, Council is doing everything possible to give back to the community and provide a helping hand to those in need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assad. Administrators, do you have any questions relating to this item? Administrator Zara?
No, Chair, thank you.
I just have one simple question, if I could. I note that there is the listing of grants for senior groups, which is in the attached grants overview. I wonder if you could just comment in relation to the quantum of those grants relative to previously.
Yes, so in this budgeting cycle, we have increased the amount of funding to senior citizens groups, and we've done it over 2 cycles. This is the first round of funding that's going to senior citizens group, and then we have got budget allocation for a second round to be run in Q4 as well. So overall, the quantum in relation and in comparison to previous years, we are increasing budget and doing everything we can to help those groups.
Thank you very much, Assad. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation for item 5.1?
I'd be happy to move that, Chair, and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. And a seconder?
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think this is headed in the right direction, and I really want to congratulate our team who've overseen the creation of, I think, a much improved community grants scheme, which has been in operation now as our officers advised for the last 6 months or so. We've got an increasing, I think quite rapidly increasing approval rate for people who do take the time and make the effort to participate in the grant scheme. And I think we've got every reason to think that that will continue to improve and increase over time. And I think one thing to really applaud, Chair, is the is the transparency of the way in which this community grant scheme is administered. And obviously the officer's presentation tonight and the report which has been provided in the council agenda papers is a great example of that. So by being accountable, by making sure that people are aware of the scheme and making active efforts to publicise the availability of the scheme and to go out of, I think, council officers' ways to really try and make sure that people are aware of the things that perhaps they need to improve in future applications to maximise the chances of success. I think that's how we really make sure that we deliver the maximum community benefit to the City of Whittlesea ratepayers and residents through this scheme. So I think this is absolutely headed in the right direction, Chair. I'm very glad to see this report tonight. Applaud the officers' efforts and thank all those who participate, I think, very willingly in helping us improve and refine all these processes into the future.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
As usual, Chair, Administrator Zara has said everything that I was just thinking about this paper, but I commend the team as well on just the proactivity. You can see that in the results where we're now at 47%, and I think that is fantastic. But for myself, I think the benefit to the community is amazing, and it's all good and well to have a grants program, but if people don't know how to access it or that it is available to them, it's sort of no use. So we've sort of busted that wide open, and I think it's fantastic and a great asset to the community, particularly at the moment, as you've said in here, around food banks and things like that, because people are struggling. So well done to the team, and we look forward to the next update.
Thank you very much, Administrator Duncan. And just before I put the motion to a vote, can I just echo the comments of my colleagues, but particularly pick up on a word that Administrator Zara used, which was transparency. And I do think it's really important to note that this is best practice in local government. There have been a number of different reviews, including through Auditor Generals, in relation to the nature of local government community grants programs. And it really is all about accountability, transparency and potential conflicts of interest. And I really strongly support the fact that council sets the overarching policy and guidelines, but it's really officers who actually administer the program and make the recommendations on the grants through a really rigorous process. And I echo the comments of my colleagues in relation to the ongoing refinements that are being made to the program. So thank you very much. I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. If we now move on to item 5.2, proposed discontinuance and sale of road adjoining 370 Veerings Road, Wollert. And again, if I could invite our Director of Customer and Corporate Services to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair, and I in turn would like to welcome George, our Unit Manager, Strategic Property, to give a brief summary of the paper.
Good. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you. This report is about a request by an owner developer for Council to support a small correction to a road alignment to facilitate a better design and efficiency in a future subdivisional stage. And I'd just like to say that the roads are dedicated by developers to Council with Council's consent through the subdivisional process. And once a plan of subdivision has been registered, the land for the road vests in Council, and any change or correction it can be made by Council alone. And usually involves a statutory process to discontinue the road and to often sell the underlying land. So here Council has followed the statutory process, which involves Council publishing a notice and inviting submissions from the public. And this it started on the 16th of January 2024 when the notice was published, and when the period closed on 13th of February, the process closed, Council did not receive any submissions from the public. So it's a small correction. It essentially is about shifting the road alignment about 3 metres to facilitate the efficiency, and Council is being asked to support this.
Thank you very much, George. Administrators, do you have any questions in relation to this item?
No, Chair, thank you.
I also have no chair, so do I have a mover for the officer recommendation for item 5.2?
Happy to move that, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. And a seconder?
I'll second it, Chair, and reserve my right to speak, please.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
Thank you, Chair. I'll get in before Administrator Zara. I think this is just obviously procedural, but it's been handled so well and so quickly. I think the team should be commended on that, and it is fairly straightforward for us, but well done on getting this across the line. And as you said, it's a procedural matter, but still we have to make a decision on that. So thank you to the team.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara.
Thank you, Chair. On matters like this, Chair, I'm very, very grateful and appreciative of the deep, many decades worth of experience that we've got amongst our officer group who look after these matters, and so carefully observe the processes that need to be followed here to comply with the relevant statutes, etc., but also to serve the public interest in making sure that we don't just become slaves to processes and not consider what the outcome is that we're wanting to get to. So I think in this case we've followed an excellent process, and I think we've got to a good outcome that serves the broader public interest. So through you, I really want to thank the team and acknowledge that not just anyone can do this work, that it's the deep experience and the careful attention to detail that really leads to us today playing a very minor role in ticking it off. So well done.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 5.3, Contract 2023-77, Variation for Salesforce ECRM and Customer Portal Implementation. And again, I invite our Director, Customer and Corporate Services to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. And I would like to welcome Michelle, our Manager of the CXDX program, to give a brief report on this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Good evening, Chair and everybody. So as part of the City's high-performing organisation, Whittlesea 2040 goals, I lead a digital transformation program, which is called CXDX, and that is a moniker for customer experience and digital experience. So the program has a very big focus on improving customer access to the city, particularly via digital channels. The sorts of initiatives that the program is involved in doing, as I say, is designed very much to make accessing council easier and includes things like upgrading our website, implementing a new service request platform with a self-service portal, upgrading our knowledge base to also include external-facing content for customers to provide them support through the portal. We also updated some telephony systems and a whole range of other things that are all designed to make that life dealing with us easier. We've chosen to work with local government-focused, efficient implementation partners, and for our service request management system, which we refer to as our ECRM system, and the customer service portal, we've chosen a combination of working with Salesforce and a vendor called Innovative. Innovative conducted a pilot with us back in July through to November last year to check whether their solution and the way they work would suit our needs, and that pilot was deemed very successful. So we then moved into full implementation, and we are now at the point where we want to expand the program into another year to focus on optimising, and we are seeking your endorsement to increase that contract for that length of time for an undisclosed amount of money.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Administrators, do you have any questions relating to this item?
I do, Chair. Thank you, Michelle. Just wondering, so the work that's been done up until this point, do we track the feedback from our customers or the community when they do call in? Do we track the customer service levels?
We do. We have a really... We do. We do have a very active customer satisfaction feedback mechanism in place at the moment, where we do collect post-interaction customer surveys, and that service performance has actually been on a very positive trajectory for the best part of 12 months. And we look forward to continuing to build on the feedback that points to any residual gaps around things we could make a little easier for them, and the ability to automate getting back to them with some notifications and keep them informed.
If you have a follow-up question, please do.
Just a follow-up question. I think that's fantastic. So really, what we're considering this evening is the next iteration, as you've said, but it's not only to streamline and provide a better service, but it looks to me as well in here, it's thinking about the future in terms of technology and how fast that changes, and AI, can that help us at some point in time? Would that be correct?
I think that's a correct assumption, yes, that there's very much a focus on continuing to optimise system automations that we can to increase the internal efficiencies, as well as driving, creating the platform to manage the future.
Could I just ask the CEO to provide a bit of additional information into the first part of your question?
Thank you, Chair. All I was going to add was that we have a system that automatically emails customers at the end of their request to gather information on how well we've delivered the service. We're currently sitting at 87% satisfaction, but the areas that keep coming up repeatedly from our community which link with this is the ease of access to our online systems, being able to find information on our website, being able to receive updates on their request electronically without needing to put that extra call into customer services. So that's really the key focus of this piece of work.
Thank you, Craig. Administrator Zara, do you have any questions?
No additional questions. Administrator Duncan's covered most of the areas I wanted to talk about, but I just know there is going to be, I think, significant benefit in terms of the functionality from the additional elements that are integrated in terms of what's been proposed.
So I think it's useful just to draw attention to that, but no additional questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. I'll then ask for a mover and seconder of the officer recommendations for this item.
I'm happy to move this one, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. And a seconder?
Happy to second it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
Oh, absolutely. I want to talk to this one. I think this is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, we've been on a journey, and as I said before, this is an evolution, but also showing flexibility, not for just what we need to do next, but into the future. And I think all of these roads lead to obviously a better experience and better service for our community and people dealing with council. So I just need to, again, commend you on this work, because 87% satisfaction rate currently. Imagine what we're going to get to when we make things even more easier, or information more easier to find, and people can get a result instantly. So I think this is fantastic, and also local laws going up there, just amazing work. So keep up the good work.
Well said, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara.
I'll be brief,
Chair, but this is fantastic work. We wholeheartedly support it. And I think the thing that we've, learned over this last, few decades in terms of the importance of these types of processes and systems in government administration is that all of these types of efforts and deployment of technology are so critical in terms of the experience that people have, how much they're able to achieve, how empowered they are, and ultimately it affects fundamentally the whole democratic process. If people are able to get on a portal or get on a website and navigate their way through and solve problems for themselves, that's what success looks like for us. And if people, when they get that survey from us, and 87% of the time they're saying, that was a great experience for me, that is really fantastic. And we need to keep on doing more of that, keep on adding to it, because it's not a sort of one-off thing that we get right and leave. It's one of those things that we get largely right and we keep on working on, and this will be the work of many decades to come as we keep on refining it and getting it as good as we possibly can in the interests of the people that we're here for. So well done through you, Chair, to our team.
Thank you, Administrator Zara, and I'm simply going to say Administrator Duncan and Zara both covered off my comments as well. Community engagement and customer service have been paramount issues for administrators from the time of our appointment, and I really just want to congratulate the CEO, to you, Sarah, and also to Michelle. This is just incredible work that has really, you describe it in the report as a transformational journey, and it really has been that. Well done. On that note, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thanks again. Item 5.4, the proposed budget 2024-25 and proposed community plan, action plan 2024-25. And again, if I could invite our Director, Customer and Corporate Services to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. Given the importance of this item tonight on the proposed budget for 2024-25 and the Community Plan Action Plan, I would like to request an extension of time for our Chief Financial Officer, Aaron, to take us through that introduction.
Sarah, you jumped the gun. And I was going to indicate at the outset, after you introduced our CFO, that I was going to use my discretion as chair in accordance with our governance rules to allow our CFO a further 2 minutes to introduce and speak to this item. That is a total of 4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. The purpose of the report is to present to Council the proposed budget 2024-25 and proposed Community Plan Action Plan 2024-25, which have been prepared in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act 2020 and have been developed to align to community priorities identified through consultation and Council's key strategic directions, ensuring we are financially sustainable into the future. The proposed budget will continue to deliver critical investment in services, programs and key infrastructure to support our rapidly growing community. For the 2024-25 financial year, Council is proposing an accounting surplus of $143.2 million. Whilst this number on face value may appear significant, the reality is this is an accounting result only and is calculated to comply with the requirements of Australian accounting standards and, importantly, does not constitute excess cash available for Council to spend. This is due to the fact that Council surplus is largely made up of either non-cash items, such as asset contributions from developers, or cash items that are restricted by legislation in how they can be used in the future by Council. Council is proposing to invest $315.2 million to continue to deliver 147 operating services to our community, including curbside waste collection, home support services, maternal and child health, and managing and maintaining Council's parks and open space assets. This budget proposes Council continue to subsidise waste charges by 22.8% at a cost of $1.9 million, specifically the state government landfill levy. In addition to our operating investment, Council is proposing to invest $107.5 million in infrastructure development across our community throughout our Capital Works program, with strong investment across both growing and established pockets of our municipality. Members of our community can find further detail on key Capital Works projects planned in their specific areas, which is outlined in the proposed Budget 2024-25 document. Our average rates in 2024-25 are proposed to increase by 2.75%, in line with the rate cap set by the Victorian Government under the Fair Go rating system, and will ensure Council is able to continue to provide the range of essential services, programs and infrastructure investment that will keep our municipality connected and well supported as we continue to grow. The proposed Community Plan Action Plan highlights the 59 key actions Council will deliver from July onwards and the key achievements made in the first 3 years of the Community Plan 2021 to 2025. In summary, the proposed budget and proposed Community Plan Action Plan provides for continued investment in key services and programs vital in supporting our local community, whilst continuing to upgrade our existing facilities and assets, ensuring we maintain and protect our natural environment and open spaces, and deliver new infrastructure projects that will accommodate our rapidly growing diverse community. I propose the recommendations as outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for such a comprehensive overview of the budget and the draft budget and the draft community plan. Administrators, do you have any questions in relation to this item?
Yes, Chair. Can you provide us with an overview of the current trends in relation to residents seeking financial hardship assistance or repayment plans?
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. At the end of February, so 29th of February, there was 58 financial hardship applications included in our register for financial hardship. Now, just to put that number into context, we have 100,000 rateable property assessments in the municipality. So that gives you a percentage of 0.06%.
I've got a follow-up question. What about repayment plans for rates and things?
Sorry. So with repayment plans, so payment arrangements on the register, we have 1,390, and that consists of, so that's a percentage of 1.38%, but it is increasing, which is a really good sign, which means council or our ratepayers are using our services to help pay for their rate debt. So they've got, we've implemented a system called FlexiPay, which gives them the option of doing weekly, fortnightly, monthly, one-off payments, and there's been a lot of positive feedback received in line with the implementation of this system.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Administrator Zara, do you have any questions?
No questions from me, Chair. Thank you.
I also have one question. The officer report indicates that significant operational savings have been achieved in the development of the draft budget. I just wonder whether you could provide a bit of a summary of what those operational savings at a high level are. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take that question. I think it was a really good example that this report and this question was a follow-up from the previous report on our customer experience, digital experience. We are focused in on a lot of efficiencies, and that is through particularly that program as an example. There are other aspects that we're looking at doing. We have looked at various efficiencies around structure, for example, looking at a people and culture perspective, but particularly around technology. Thank you.
I think Aaron might have an additional information he'd like to provide.
I might just also add planning and continuous improvement, so ensuring project readiness, so enabling us opportunities to go to state and federal government for funding opportunities, but also improve collaboration now, not just with internal stakeholders, but also external stakeholders, so giving us the ability to negotiate better with those stakeholders, but also deliver better outcomes for council.
Thank you. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation for item 5.4?
Chair, I'm happy to move the officer recommendation with a minor change to part 1 of the recommendation to better clarify its intent, and also minor change to part 5. If I could, through you, Chair, just read out the change I would like in part 1 and then part 5.
Thank you.
So part 1.
And Administrator Zara, if I could just ask, we will be doing the amendments as you speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So part 1 to read as follows. Endorses the Part A proposed budget 2024-2025 and proposed fees and charges schedule at attachment 1. B, proposed community plan action plan 2024-25 at attachment 2. To be released for further community consultation on Thursday 21 March 2024 until 5 p.m. Friday 5 April 2024. So that's the change, Chair, as I'm proposing it in relation to part 1.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. And if you could also read your amendments to part 5, and then we'll display all of it on the screen.
Thank you, Chair. Part 5 to read as follows. Resolve to establish a hearing of submissions committee comprising all administrators for the purpose of hearing verbal submissions from community members
relating to the proposed budget and or proposed action plan on 6 May 2024 at 6 p.m. in the Council Chamber at Civic Centre, 25 Ferrers Boulevard, South Morang.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. And are we able to now display? Oh, it's on. It's already been displayed. Thank you. Do I have a seconder with those amendments?
Happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I really want to thank our team who've done a great deal of work, not just in developing the budget and all the related actions in the Community Plan Action Plan, but in their deep engagement already with the community and important stakeholders within the City of Whittlesea in developing what's in the draft budget and Community Plan Action Plan. There's been a great deal of work that has already taken place in getting us to this point. So I think it's really important to recognise that as we tonight support moving into the next phase, the quality of the work that's been done, I think, has really impressed all of us as administrators. And I think the process, I think we could honestly make as a reflection, has improved year on year in terms of the way that the officers are so professionally going about their work and deeply engaging, deeply thinking about the priorities locally and what will deliver greatest public value. So I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. So that's, if you like, the part our team has done already. But I think it's really important to use this public forum tonight, Chair, to really encourage participation from local people and groups in the next stages, to provide us with their best thoughts and feedback on the draft budget and Community Plan Action Plan. And we, as a group, I know very sincerely want that feedback, and we are really keen to incorporate that community feedback into this final budget and Community Plan Action Plan that will be subject to further approval down the track. So great work so far. For those people locally who are listening, please take the time to read it, give us your thoughts and perspectives, so that we can make what I think is a really strong foundation in this document even better, and together we can serve the best interests of the people of the City of Whittlesea. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
Thank you, Chair. I think Administrator Zara has summed it up perfectly. So just a big congratulations to the team, because it's an enormous amount of work. And again, in plain English for everyone to understand. So thank you very much for your presentation and report today.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. And I just want to say that my colleagues have summed up things fantastically well. The comment that was made about the enormous amount of community consultation that has already occurred to get to this point, and I note that there was over 500 people shared their thoughts regarding what's important to them in the development of the budget. And I'd also echo the comment about we really look forward to receiving the budget submissions and hearing in person from our community members in relation to our budget and our draft budget and draft community plan. Congratulations to all of the staff involved to this point in time. Thank you. I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thanks again. If we move to item 5.5, Ageing Well Service Opportunities, and we've got a different director introducing this item, our Director of Community Wellbeing. Thank you, Agata.
Thank you, Chair.
We're very excited to be presenting to you this evening an opportunity to expand the breadth of services that we offer in our Ageing Well service, to offer home care packages to our residents. And I will hand over to Lenche, who is our Manager of Ageing Well, to take you through the report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So Council currently delivers the Commonwealth Home Support Program, which provides basic entry-level services. The Home Care Packages program provides tailored support for older people with more complex needs than those receiving supports through the Commonwealth Home Support Program. In November 2023, the Commonwealth Department of Health announced a staged implementation of the Support at Home program, which was new to all providers. This includes that the single assessment is commencing from July 2024, although there have been delays with this. Home care packages and short-term restorative care program to commence in July 2025. The Commonwealth Home Support Program was flagged to transition to the Support at Home no earlier than July 2027. It is therefore prudent and timely for Council to become a home care package provider for a number of reasons. This will provide continuity of care to our clients who currently need to change providers when their needs increase. It will meet the needs of clients who increase in their care needs and who at the moment have been refusing home care packages just so they can stay with the Commonwealth Home Support. It will also expand our ability to deliver enhanced and innovative services. Changes to the registration process in the future are unknown, and therefore we are recommending that Council become a home care package provider at this stage.
Thank you very much, Lenche. Administrators, do you have any questions relating to this item?
No, Chair.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Lenche, can you just confirm that I've understood this correctly, that we will be able to do the enhanced services by July 2025? Yeah.
If we become a home care package provider, yes, we will.
Thank you. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation for item 5.5?
I'd like to move this one, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. And a seconder?
I'm happy to second it, Chair. I reserve my right to speak, please.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
Thank you, Chair. Where do I begin here? I just would like to acknowledge that Council some time ago made the decision to stay in the aged care space for our residents in the municipality, and to be here today considering the next iteration of this service, because we have a duty of care to those in our community that are in need, of course, but are vulnerable as well. And to know that we are going on this path and it's as soon as July next year, I think is to be commended by all the officers, so your teams, on being bold to actually take this on, which our residents and our community members are going to reap the benefits, but also have that sense of security. And they clearly have that sense of security with Council now. I'm looking at the clock, but I'm going well, which is a testament to all of the people in the aged care services through Council that we provide. So I obviously am supporting of this motion, and I'm really, really proud of the Council, the City of Whittlesea, and I really hope that this is a sigh of relief to our elderly citizens that, as I said, are vulnerable and needing these services but don't want to give up their relationships and bonds they've formed with Council staff. So well done to all.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair. I completely support what my colleague Administrator Duncan has just said, and I think quite beautifully said in relation to this matter. My own thinking, Chair, is that it's one of those circumstances that we don't see often enough, I think, where you're actually expanding services to a group that clearly needs them, and it's so welcome. And this is always the argument, I think, for local government, being the tier of government that's closest to the people, and able to identify these needs and meet them. And I think that's what our team have done. And I can imagine the frustration that our team has felt for some time of where people want to stay with us, but as their needs grow, there's a fear that they would have felt as local residents of having to be transferred on to a group that they did not know as well, or didn't have the familiarity, close, place-based familiarity that they clearly have with our team at the City of Whittlesea. And that is a fantastic and cherished asset that we have, and something that's been built up over time by the hard work and I think love of our team for the people that they're serving. So it's wonderful to see not only are we keeping it and making what we're already doing better, we're looking to add to it, and we will add to it through this decision. So I'm enthusiastically in support of this recommendation, and take the time through you, Chair, to really acknowledge the team and their dedication to the people that they work with, and so very, very loyally, and I think with big heart, serve, including in bringing forward this recommendation for us to consider tonight.
Thank you very much, Administrator Zara. My colleagues have spoken eloquently, and clearly you can see we're in total accordance. We've been on the journey with you in relation to the decision as to whether to remain in the business of aged care or to withdraw. And to see that we're now not only not withdrawing but expanding potentially the service offering, and the comment that Administrator Duncan made about the fact that Council is a trusted partner, and also the issue highlighted in the report of continuity of care, I think is just so important. So I'm going to conclude by echoing the comments of congratulations to our staff. This has just been an enormous amount of work. So Agata, to you, but particularly obviously to Lenche and her team, I just think this is absolutely brilliant work. And on that note, I will put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thanks again. Item 5.6, Sport Fair Access Policy. And again, Agata, if I could invite you to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. In this report, we present to you the draft fair access policy for community and stakeholder consultation. This is a really important policy for us in that it ensures that community members who identify as women and girls have equitable access to sporting infrastructure in the City of Whittlesea. So I will now hand over to Drew, our Acting Manager of Active and Creative Communities. Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Agata. So the Fair Access Policy Roadmap is a state government initiative to improve the access to and use of community sports infrastructure by women and girls. By July 2024, all Victorian councils will need to ensure fair access to sporting facilities for people of all genders to be considered eligible to receive state government infrastructure funding to support the development of community sports facilities. In response, the draft Whittlesea Fair Access Policy guides development, access and use of community sports infrastructure, including gender equity in access as well as scheduling of matches and training. The policy has a multi-pronged approach. For Council, the policy will guide both infrastructure and operational planning, including gender impact assessments on policies and processes. For sporting clubs, we will require sporting clubs using council facilities to undertake training, undertake gender equity audits and develop action plans reported on annually. The City of Whittlesea is currently rated 73rd out of 79 LGAs for women and girls' participation in organised sport. We see this as an opportunity to work with clubs and sports associations to make a difference to women and girls' access to sporting facilities and opportunities.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Administrators, do you have any questions relating to this item?
No, Chair.
Administrator Duncan? I've just got a quick one. Obviously, there'll be a number of potential infrastructure improvements coming out of this further piece of work and policy development. For argument's sake, whether there's a requirement for change rooms, toilet facilities to be changed. Can you clarify whether there will be eligible funding? I note within the report that there's the Victorian Government Sports Infrastructure Fund. What's the likelihood of obtaining external funding?
Well, without this policy, we wouldn't be eligible. I think the policy we have in place goes above and beyond a templates policy, so to speak. So actually working with our clubs to drive participation, which is the main evaluation criteria for this funding, will help us increase our chances of receiving that type of funding.
Thank you, Andrew. Do I then have a mover for the officer recommendation for item 5.6?
Happy to move this one, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. And a seconder?
I second it, Chair. Reserve my right to speak, please.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is a long time coming, but it's a step in the right direction, of course, and I would be very interested to see what information we get back from our stakeholder and community consultation, and I'll be particularly interested to hear from our Youth Council of their feedback as well, because obviously if we look here, when the 2023 State of Play survey was undertaken by the Office of Women in Sport and Rec, 90% of women think it's still an issue about gender equality in sport. And so we've got some ways to go across the state of Victoria, but all I'm focused on here is the City of Whittlesea. And so I'll be very, very, as I said, keen to see what the community have to say about that. And as I said, in particularly our Youth Council, because it's across really those demographics as well. So I look forward to seeing that.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, my thanks to the team for the great work in getting to this point and being so candid and upfront about where we are in this journey. You know, there are some very powerful drivers for this work, Chair, as I think we're all acknowledging around the table. We aren't at the point that we would like to be at in terms of our relative position amongst other municipalities, and that's really important for us to be brave enough to confront and talk openly about. It's not good enough and we need to improve on that front. And also in terms of the practicalities of where the money comes from. This is work that needs to be done, otherwise there won't be money forthcoming from state government and no doubt federal government as well. And that's really important because that affects the quality of sporting and community facilities that City of Whittlesea is able to provide to local residents and ratepayers. So there's some very powerful drivers here that can't be ignored, and I'm sure we all look forward to the feedback from the community, which is the next stage now of this public process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara, and I echo the comments of my administrator colleagues, and we'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 5.7, Award of Tender 2023-73, Management and Operation of Mill Park Leisure, Thomastown Recreation and Aquatic Centre and Wilsey Swim Centre. And again, Agata, if I could invite you to provide an introduction to this item.
Thank you, Chair. As you mentioned, this is a very important contract for Council for the management and operation of our 3 aquatic and leisure facilities. So I will hand straight over to Andrew, our Acting Manager of Active and Creative Communities, to take us through the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Agata. So, as you would be aware, the contracts for our 3 aquatic centres run until 30th of June this year. With the current contract, we've had a focus on growth in membership and learn to swim numbers over the term of the current contract. So at Mill Park Leisure, we've had membership growing by 50% over the term of the contract, track membership growing by 37%, and learn to swim attendees growing by almost 50% at our centres. This has seen our financial performance improve across the life of the contract. From the first 2 years of the current contract costing Council $900,000 to Council receiving income of over $500,000 in regards to the 2-year extension to the contract, a turnaround of $1.4 million. This gave confidence for us to go out for a 5-year tender. So the new contract's been built on KPIs and community outcomes regarding equity, access and inclusion, participation, health and wellbeing. The recommended tender has proposed a guaranteed return to Council of over $6 million over the 5-year period, an average of $1.26 million a year, as well as a 50-50 profit share. The recommended tender has outlined a range of inclusive programming opportunities, both at the centre, at our centres, as well as place-based programming. Learn to swim and membership numbers are projected to continue to grow over the 5-year proposed contract.
Thank you very much. Administrators, do you have any questions in relation to item 5.7?
I don't, Chair. No, thank you.
Administrator Duncan?
Sorry, I do. You said that there's a 50% increase in Learn to Swim. What's the demographics of why that's gone up so much, please?
That has been a number of young families, particularly in Mill Park, so that's over the term of the current contract. It's also been through getting more schools into the centre. So the schools see the centre and see the program, and that's also driven our Learn to Swim numbers. A major focus has also been growing Learn to Swim at track as well, and that's a major focus of the proposed contract in regards to the different demographics for track compared to Mill Park Leisure.
Administrator Duncan, a further question?
Thank you, Chair. Just a follow-up question. So would we be expecting that trajectory to keep continuing to go up? The proposed contract, it has those Learn to Swim numbers proposed to continue to go up. I don't think we're looking at 50% because I don't think that's sustainable. At Mill Park Leisure, we're at over 3,000 members currently, so that will become an issue in terms of actually availability to run Learn to Swim with everything else we're looking to fit into the centre. We really think there's an opportunity at Thomastown in particular to work with the local community to address barriers to participation and really grow the Learn to Swim program at that centre.
Could I also ask Agata to provide further information in relation to your question?
Thank you. Just to add to that, one of the key components of both this contract and what we currently do is extensive community engagement. So really making a point of going out into the community, letting them know what's available as far as the programs like Learn to Swim, and bringing people into the centre and partnering with various community groups. And there's some of the ways that we see the Learn to Swim program and other programs increasing in participation through those connections.
Thank you. I also have a question. I note in the officer report that an external probity advisor was appointed to oversee the tender evaluation process and ensure probity requirements were met. Just for public purposes, can you talk a little bit more about the role and its function, not who, but really what was the role of that probity advisor?
The role of the probity advisor was to ensure that the panel obviously had no conflicts of interest in regards to their participation, but making sure that the proper processes were followed, but also that the scoring of the evaluation actually met the criteria put forward based on the KPIs of the contract, as well as assisting in regards to providing advice in regards to how we might run interview processes and referee checks and things of that nature.
Thank you. Agata?
And just to add to that, the probity advisor was present at all of the interviews with tenderers and all of the meetings of the tender panel as well.
Thank you for that clarification. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation for item 5.7?
Happy to move that. I reserve my right to speak, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. And a seconder?
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Over to you, Administrator Zara.
Thank you,
Chair, I'll be brief because it's getting late, but I really do acknowledge the hard work of our team that has gone into this. This is a very important contract. And if you think about the different things that we might decide upon in terms of these types of facilities, this is really right up there in terms of the number of people that are impacted by the service delivery. So it really does affect people's lives. Our team have followed a very careful process, as you were just drawing out, Chair, and we've been fortunate, I guess, additionally to this public opportunity to be briefed by our team and know in great detail just how carefully they've gone through the public selection process here, leading to their recommendation to us tonight at this meeting. So that process has been a very careful and I think a very high quality one, and I've got complete confidence in the recommendation that they're making, so I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
No, thanks, Chair.
I'm just going to conclude before I put the motion simply by echoing Administrator Zara's comments of acknowledgement to you, Andrew, and the team, Agata, Andrew and the team. This is a really extraordinary outcome and as was indicated earlier on, this is such an important overall tender of our major leisure facilities. So well done to all. I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. If we now move on to item 5.8, Regional Sports Precinct Stadium and Outdoor Netball Courts. And if I could now invite our Director of Infrastructure and Environment, Debbie Wood, to provide an introduction to this report.
Thank you, Chair. Another very exciting report about one of our major projects that we're starting to commence. But I have Anthony here with me today, our Manager of Priority Projects, just to run you through the report and the recommendations. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Debbie, and through you, Chair. The project design and update before you tonight contributes to the delivery of our fair access policy commitment already made tonight at Council. Currently, 60% of our netballers have to travel outside of our local government area to play and train in sport that they want to play. What's before you specifically tonight is a scope of 4 indoor multi-purpose courts for multiple sports with a target of netball, up to 8 outdoor courts with floodlit lighting, car parking to control the volume of participation, landscaping and a wetlands that creates a overland water control and park area for patrons as they enter the site. We want to acknowledge Netball and Basketball Victoria for their support and develop this concept with us and our advocacy to get funding. The community stakeholder group that has been established and operating to test the design that we've got through detailed design phase to make sure it operationally works for our local community. And note the council will shortly tender an early works package which will come back before council in August for award of a hopefully recommended tender. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Any questions, administrators, in relation to this item?
No, Chair. Thank you.
I also have no questions. So do I have a mover for the officer recommendation for item 5.8?
Happy to move this, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. And a seconder?
Happy to second it and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, this project has been on the go for quite some time, and we're getting down to the pointy end now, which I think is fantastic. And I do know that the team's put in a lot of work around design, but also community consultation, and also making sure that we've got scope in the future to build more than the 4 indoor courts and up to 8 outside, but so there couldn't be 8, and I know there's a lot of planning around that, so it's exciting to see this keep going, so we'll look forward to seeing the tender results. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara.
Thank you, Chair. This is a big moment for an important project that has been championed by a great many people for longer than we've been involved on this council, for a great many years. And we have to acknowledge, I think, Chair, their advocacy and support in advancing this over a long period of time. And equally, I think it's important we use this public opportunity to thank our team, Craig, Deb and everybody, Anthony, everyone that's been involved in bringing it all together, in making it happen, getting to this point. And really, I think, being great partners with those community leaders and advocates, champions of this project over a long period of time, to get to the point now where, we're considering this really important next stage tonight. So through you, really want to applaud everyone that's been involved in getting to this point, Chair.
Thank you, Administrators Duncan and Zara, because I equally applaud the enormous amount of effort that's occurred. And I just also want to note that I think it's just so good to see the establishment of the community steering group of key stakeholders to provide that further input into the operational design. So really great process. Thank you again for all the work that's been undertaken to date. And I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 5.9, 2023-139, construction of Patterson Drive Community Centre tender evaluation. And again, Debbie, if I could invite you to provide an introduction.
Thank you, Chair. More construction works happening for our community, so another centre that we're very pleased now to be hopefully awarding. But I have Mark here with me, our Unit Manager of Community Infrastructure Delivery, who will just talk you through the report and the recommendations. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Debbie. Good evening. The award of this contract is to construct a building that will provide a new community facility with strong connections to the local school and broader community. The building includes a 2-room kindergarten and 2-room MCH, program room, consulting room, large community space with library hub, 2 community activity rooms and associated amenities. The area of this building is approximately 1,695 square metres. These works are very important as it will provide essential infrastructure for the growing local community. The recommended tenderer by the evaluation panel is Malbcon. Their proposed work program submitted indicated that they could meet Council's timeframes for the delivery of the project, with the work scheduled to commence in late April of 2024 and be completed in mid to late 2025. The tender from Malbcon was determined to be the best value by the tender evaluation panel, and it is considered that this company can undertake the contract scope of works to the required specifications and standards. Therefore, it is recommended that contract number 2023-139 for the construction of Patterson Drive Community Centre be awarded to Malbcon. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mark. Administrators, do you have any questions relating to this item? Administrator Zara?
No, Chair.
I also have no questions relating to this item, so I'm seeking a mover and a seconder for the officer recommendation for item 5.9.
I'm happy to move that, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. And a seconder?
I'll second it, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara.
We've had a good, strong process here, and I think we've got an outcome that's going to deliver real benefit to the community. This is exactly the type of social infrastructure that we know makes such a huge difference to the livability of the City of Whittlesea. So fantastic to see this taking place. It's going to be a huge benefit to everyone who lives in the local district. So very happy to support it. Congratulate the team on bringing it all together.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
Just ditto what Administrator Zara said, really. Thank you.
Thank you, and I ditto Administrator Zara's comments as well. And on that note, I'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 5.10, Planning Scheme Amendment C272, Wollert Waste and Recovery Hub Authorisation. And I'd like to now introduce our Director of Planning and Development, Emma Appleton, and invite her to provide an overview of this report.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to welcome Justin, our Senior Strategic Planner, to introduce this item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma, and thank you, Chair. So this report makes a recommendation that Council seek approval from the Minister of Planning to prepare and exhibit a proposed planning scheme amendment C272 that will rezone part of the land at 45 to 135 Bridge Inn Road, Wollert, from the Green Wedge zone to the special use zone. The site is currently being used as a quarry and a landfill. This amendment also proposes to remove the environmental significance overlay from part of the land that has already been subject to the existing quarry and the landfill activities. The Green Wedge Zone environmental significant overlay will be retained on all parts of the land that have been identified as having environmental and conservation values. And the purpose of this amendment is to recognise the existing use of the land as both a quarry and a landfill, and importantly to facilitate the use of the land for a waste and resource recovery purpose, which will complement the existing uses. So the site has been identified as a state significant waste and resource recovery hub within the statewide Waste and Recovery Infrastructure Plan 2018. However, the current zoning of the land restricts the use of the land for waste and recovery purposes. So the waste and resource recovery uses will result in a net decrease of waste being sent to the landfill, which is consistent with the principles of the circular economy. The draft planning controls which are attached to the report have been drafted to appropriately manage land use, the protection of flora and fauna throughout the site, the impacts of noise and odour from the site, the appropriate mitigation of landfill gas and contamination, and also stormwater management throughout the site. The planning controls also require that planning permission is required for future uses, which will allow for detailed and proposed specific planning assessments to be undertaken at the planning permit stage. The amendment complements the existing uses. It will promote circular economy principles and is consistent with the strategic designation of the site as a state significant waste and resource recovery hub, and is therefore recommended that Council resolve to commence the planning scheme process and request that the Minister for Planning grant authorisation to the amendment. to be prepared and exhibited.
Thank you very much. I'm conscious that it's quite a complex report and that you've done incredibly well to provide that overview in 2 minutes. Administrators, do you have any questions relating to this item?
No, Chair.
No, Chair.
I also have no questions relating to this item, so I'm seeking a mover and a seconder for item 5.10.
I'm happy to move it, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. And a seconder?
Happy to second it, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara.
Thanks, Chair. I'll be brief. There's a lot of work that's gone into getting to this point, a lot of careful consideration and advancing through all those complicated steps that you were alluding to before, Chair. So we really need to acknowledge that, the hard work by the team, careful consideration of all of those different intersecting matters and engagement with different groups and stakeholders. As our officers said, Chair, this is about bringing the circular economy to life. The concept of it is one thing, but to actually make it happen, you have to do this type of close and careful work, which our officers have done with others in advancing projects of this nature to actually bring that to life, to see high value from those things that traditionally we've considered to be things that we put in landfill. So great work by all involved, and happy to support this next step in the process, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan.
I concur with my colleague, Administrator Zara, and I just want to congratulate the team. This just makes sense, right? So this is a great piece of work, and thank you for explaining it to everyone here tonight to make it simpler to understand, but well done to everybody.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Can I also just highlight a few points that you've already made, because I just think that there's a lot of complex issues in there in your overview as to the rationale for why we'd be going down this path of the amendment. And I think clearly that the subject site has existing and historic quarry and landfill uses, and that the rezoning would actually consolidate those uses within specific boundaries of the site. You identified the fact that the site has been identified as a state significant waste and resource recovery hub, and that the Waste and Resource Recovery Centre will play actually a really important role in further decreasing waste to landfill. And I don't know if it was picked up, but you also made the point that the amendment would not preclude the requirement for future planning approvals for uses associated with the Resource and Recovery Hub. And there'll be the opportunity for affected landowners and other relevant stakeholders to make written submissions in relation to the proposed amendment. It's for all those reasons, which I think are clearly outlined within the officer report, that I support the officer recommendation that's being put forward. So I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 5.11. Unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee, and if I could invite our Executive Manager, Office of Council and CEO to provide an overview of this item, which is a little bit different from the many preceding items on the Council agenda today.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. The Audit and Risk Committee is an independent advisory committee of Council. They held their quarterly meeting on the 13th of February. This report is for Council to note the unconfirmed minutes from that meeting, and the Audit and Risk Committee will confirm them at their next quarterly meeting to be held in May this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacinta. Any questions, administrators, in relation to item 5.11?
No, Chair.
Administrator
No, Chair.
Zara? I also have no questions. So do I have a mover for the officer recommendation for item 5.11?
I'm happy to move that, Chair.
And I'm happy to second the officer recommendation. And I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 5.12, informal meetings of administrators. And again, Jacinta, if I could invite you to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. For transparency, this report is to present a record of informal meetings of administrators since the February council meeting. So primarily the informal meetings have been the council briefings that they receive prior to council meetings. Thank you.
Any questions, administrators, relating to this item?
No, Chair.
No, Chair.
I also have no questions. So again, I'm seeking a mover for the officer recommendation for item 5.12, and I can see Administrator Duncan's mic on.
Happy to move.
And a seconder.
I'm happy to second it, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Would you like to speak to the item?
No, thanks, Chair.
Administrator Zara, would you like to speak to the item?
No, thank you, Chair.
I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. If we move on to notices of motion, and we do have an item, item 6.1, change to council meeting time. And Administrator Zara, if I could invite you to introduce the item.
Thank you, Chair. I wish to move the following motion. That Council resolve 1, that all future council meetings and unscheduled council meetings commence at 6 p.m. 2, a notice is to be published on the City of Whittlesea Council website page, meetings, agendas and minutes, advising the public of the amended council meeting commencement time.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Do I have a seconder for this motion?
Happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara, would you like to speak to your notice of motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would like to speak to this notice of motion. Chair, in this work, this public official work that we're all engaged in, including in our capacity as administrators and for other people doing similar work as elected councillors, there is a great tension in having a type of workplace that is accessible to everybody. That includes people who are at different stages in their life and in different stages in their working life as well. This is a very modest attempt to try and get the balance a bit closer to right by making what I think might be a slightly better start time, moving from 6:30 p.m. to 6 p.m, with the ambition being that it will be just a little bit more accessible for those people who are juggling the responsibilities of work and family life. So hopefully, Chair, with this modest step, we've increased the attractiveness of serving on council, which is an opportunity that people in the City of Whittlesea have later this year. They'll see that this is an attempt by us and hopefully future councils to get that balance right and to make this role in serving on council something which is possible for people to do while managing other very important responsibilities as well.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Administrator Duncan, would you like to speak to the motion as well?
No, thanks, Chair.
I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Administrators, are there any items of urgent business?
No, Chair.
No. Thank you. If we move to item 8, reports of council representatives and CEO update, and if I could invite initially Administrator Duncan to provide an update to both the council and members of the public.
Thank you, Chair. I attended the MAV local government reform session and delegate induction. I also attended the CEO Employment Matters Advisory Committee meeting, council briefing. I've then also attended the Whittlesea Reconciliation Group meeting, and then obviously tonight it's been a great pleasure to meet with the Youth Council.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. Administrator Zara, do you have any questions of Administrator Duncan in relation to her report?
No, I don't. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I also have no questions. So if I could invite you, Administrator Zara, to now also provide an update.
Thank you, Chair. On the 27th of February, it was a great pleasure for me on behalf of all of us to attend and participate in the Community Awards Committee meeting that has informed, obviously, the outcome of those important awards that we acknowledged earlier on today, Chair. On the 5th of March, we all participated together on the CEO Employment Matters Advisory Committee and also Council briefing. And shortly after that, on the 8th, the Special Council briefing. And today it was an honour, had to be reluctantly for my part, online, to have been introduced to the outstanding people that have been appointed to and are serving as the Youth Council. They will do excellent work, so it was a real pleasure for me to do that, albeit virtually, today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. Any questions of Administrator Zara?
No, Chair.
I also have no questions. So I'm happy to also provide a report in relation to some key activities over the past month. We again had a couple of citizenship ceremonies over this period with 140 new citizens, and it was an absolute honour to be the presiding officer at those citizenship ceremonies. I had a meeting of the MAV Metropolitan North region, which was incredibly informative, with the President of the MAV and other key delegates in attendance, just to really pick up on some key topical issues for local government and importantly MAV advocacy. I just want to note that I was invited to open alongside the CEO the City of Whittlesea and NBN Node Artwork launch, which is a partnership between NBN and 4 amazing First Nations artists who have created artwork to adorn the NBN nodes at 4 really important strategic locations adjacent to Quarry Hills Regional Parkland. And there also will be interpretive, almost signage, and I understand that we're producing postcards as well in relation to that really significant artwork. We had a coffee with council session at Mernda Village, which was oversubscribed. It was amazing. We had some 40 residents in attendance, and it was really a wonderful coffee with council. And that same day I had the Yarra Plenty Regional Library Board meeting, and because of the rotation basis, I've been appointed as the new chair of the Yarra Plenty Regional Library Corporation. I'm running out of time, but I'll just highlight a couple of other quick things. The opening of the Whittlesea Garden Expo. People know I'm a really keen gardener and love the opportunity to go and open the Garden Expo. And then probably the last 2 things I'll note in my minus time is the fact that I was at the Community Festival alongside the CEO and most of the executive leadership team last Sunday, and had the honour of presenting our community awards. In fact, one of the awards was to our own Deputy Youth Mayor, and it was a great honour to be in attendance, and today for us to be hosting the new Youth Council, our new Youth Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Happy to respond to any questions. I'll now ask the CEO to provide an update to both the Council and members of the public.
Thank you, Chair. As you mentioned, on Sunday we held our annual community festival here at the Civic. It was spectacular weather, big crowd. I'm told by staff probably the biggest crowd that we've had at any of the community festivals, which was great. Lots of free entertainment, cooking workshops, theatre shows, markets and a lot more. A new local food discovery area which showcased a whole range of local produce from local businesses and manufacturers. And the very popular Pet Expo and sustainability lanes both reappeared this year. Just wanted to make a big thank you and congratulations to the very large team across Council. We've been working on this for months. It takes a very big team to pull something together like that. And it was a big success, so well done, everyone. I'm pleased to report that work is well underway on a significant project to return Peter Hopper Lake in Mill Park to good health. The water quality at Peter Hopper Lake has been an ongoing issue for a long time, and we've been working hard to find a solution. The project includes desilting the lake to remove excess sediment and debris. That process commenced last month and is expected to continue into May. And the desilting will then be followed by dewatering of the lake. And this will then also allow for the installation of a sediment basin, rain garden, circulation pump and other measures which will improve water quality. That part of the project is expected to start in mid this year and continue until early 2025. Last week I was joined by the Honourable Lizzie Blanthorne, the Minister for Children and Disability, and Lauren Cathage, the member for Yan Yean, to officially open the Murnon Kindergarten in Donnybrook. This kindergarten is a one-room kindergarten facility developed through the Kindergarten on School Sites program via the Victorian School Building Authority. Again, our staff work closely with the VSBA, contractors and the Donnybrook Primary School on the project. Council carried out the fit-out of the final furniture and equipment, and that has enabled this kindergarten and its 33 new places to open in time for Term 1 this year. Looking forward, the Murnon Community Centre, which will be built on the adjacent land, will provide an additional 2 kindergarten rooms and 66 places when it's completed in 2025. So eventually we'll have 99 places across those 2 neighbouring facilities in the very growing Donnybrook area. And finally, I just wanted to mention the Donnybrook Repair Corner. So on Saturday, 2nd of March, we celebrated the launch of our second repair cafe, the Donnybrook Repair Corner. It's run by a team of skilled volunteers who meet on the first Saturday of every month, and that repair cafe promotes sustainability, reduces waste and provides cost savings for residents. We're excited to be supporting that initiative as part of our Rethinking Waste plan to help us become a low-waste city. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Craig, for that comprehensive overview. Administrators, any questions of Craig?
No, Chair.
No, Chair.
Thank you. I note that all of our verbal reports will be documented in the minutes. Administrators, I now require a motion to close the meeting to the public under section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 for the consideration of confidential items. Item 9.1, Special Rates and Charges Scheme Audit Report Findings and Recommendations. Do I have a mover to close the meeting for consideration of the confidential item?
Happy to move, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Duncan. And do I have a seconder?
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Zara. I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. And that brings us to the end of the open meeting, and therefore I close the open meeting at 8:17 p.m.